Hello class, I will be going over Module 6 assignment. Anne and I are working together in this class, and she did the orientation and I am doing the Module 6 assignment. So this assignment is due week 6. It is an evidence-based plan of care, but it is a PowerPoint. It is not a paper. So make sure that you are aware of that. When doing the PowerPoint, we do expect you to put the highlights on the actual slide and then add the notes underneath. Because there is a lot of information, you will be needing to add notes to your slide. So the first part talks about academic honesty, making sure that you are doing your own work. And this is actually a really good learning experience and will help prepare you for the NCLEX because there are many questions on complex health alterations. So this is something that you can use and save and go back and study in the future. The list below is the list of disease processes that you will use, and you will be assigned to one of these. So there might be 2 or 3 students listed under each one. We will most likely divide burns up into thermal and electrical and chemical because each one is treated a little bit different. So make sure when the time comes, that will be in the announcements, and it will be here to do the assigned topic so that everybody has an opportunity to do something different. So instead of choosing, we will choose for you, but then what you're going to do is describe the body systems that are impacted by that disease process and what the plan of care will be. And again, as we have you always do, support it with literature. Now, this is not an actual care plan for a patient, but is sort of a model care plan that you could use if you were caring for a patient, possibly with HIV or AIDS or one of the other listed disease processes. So here are the list of the competencies, which I'm not going to go through. So basically in this plan of care, you will again use slides, and you put your main information on your slides, and then you will add more information in your notes. So when you do that, you just have to go on the slide and make sure that you enable editing, and that will add the notes to the bottom. So the first slide, of course, could be the name of your plan of care, and then the next slide should be your list of clinical manifestations. So what does a patient look like? If you would like, you can also add pathophysiology. You do not have to, but sometimes those go hand in hand, and it is a nice addition. And again, it will help you learn the disease process. After that, you're going to list and explain the diagnostic tests or lab tests or x-rays or radiology that are related to this disease process. And again, I would suggest listing them and then put in your notes your explanation. On the next slide, I don't want to say slide 3 because it could be slide 4 or 5 for you, but on the next slide, you're going to list your top 3 nursing diagnoses that you would use to care for this patient. And these nursing diagnoses then, just as if you were doing a care plan in a clinical setting, need to be the ones that follow up with the interventions in this area. So you're sticking with the same topic. So it would be alterations in nutrition, lesson requirements, possibly related to a fluid and electrolyte imbalance. You would use that down here to define and identify your 3 priority nursing interventions. So you're going to list your nursing diagnosis and why you think these are the top 3. There's usually many more than 3 when we're caring for a patient, but we're asking you to give the top 3. And again, when you're doing that, consider ABCs, airway, breathing, circulation, although that may not always be the most important, or you might want to add one related to psychosocial. The next slide, you're going to identify and prioritize 3 nursing interventions which correlate to the nursing process. And again, discuss your reasons or rationale for these interventions. And in the interventions, it's a little bit more elaborate. You're going to include your technology, pharmacology, so it could include your medications, any type of assistive devices, diet, if you're including patient education, who you collaborate with, that type of thing. The next slide is sort of a continuation of the nursing interventions, but what tools and resources did you use to implement these nursing interventions? And then, as always in the nursing process, you do your assessment, you do your nursing diagnosis, your interventions, and then you also want to set goals for the person. What do you hope to accomplish at the end of your care, or by doing these interventions, what do you hope you will see in the patient? So list your expected outcomes or goals, and then your conclusion will be a summary of your care plan and the expected impact on his or her health and wellness. And again, also in this, make sure you're including how did you involve the patient. So you've made this great plan of care, but what part is the patient going to be involved in? So you're making sure it's patient-centered. You must include 2 references at least on your last slide or under your reference slide, and they need to be within 5 years. Make sure they're scholarly references. You can include your book, but then you would need another scholarly reference or a journal or something like that. The minimum you should have is 5 to 7 slides. That does not include your title or reference slide, so it would be a minimum really then of 7 to 9, and you might find you have much more. Make sure that when you're making slides, you use a nice, slightly colored background, something that's not too busy, and that you're not putting too much information on the slide so that it's hard to read. And second, it's always a good idea to include a few graphics. You can go to Creative Commons, and there are free graphic pictures for you there. If you are using graphics or pictures, make sure that you include those in your sources. And again, as in all your work, grammar, spelling, all these play into it, APA format if it's appropriate. And again, it has to be the 80-20 rule. So if you are copying anything, it can only be 20%, or if you're quoting someone, it can only be 20%. So please be aware that that also doesn't mean that if you found a source and you've copied it and not put it in parentheses, but it's still word for word, that still means it falls under the 80-20 rule. So please be aware of that. So basically, you will get 20 points for these sections. And I always say, print out the rubric to make sure that you are doing everything that's listed in the rubric. So this one is telling you to identify the disease and list the clinical manifestations. This one is diagnostics are defined. They have to be relevant, and you need to describe and explain them, how they relate to the disease process. And this one, you're talking about your top 3 nursing diagnoses and why you chose those. And this one, you'll be picking the 3 interventions that correlate to the nursing process. And again, here's all your pieces. Discuss your reason for these priorities, and interventions should include aspects of this. So collaboration, education, technology, pharmacology, or nutrition. You want to identify your expected outcomes or goals. And there should be one for each nursing intervention, nursing diagnosis. What did you use to accomplish this goal? And then your conclusion, what was the impact of your plan, and what would your patient's involvement be in this plan of care? So making sure you're including all this information on your PowerPoint. And then you need to have 2 scholarly references, APA format. That would be mostly in your references and in your citations. Check for grammar and spelling. And it has to be in your own words. So if you have any questions about the assignment, please either put them in questions for the instructor, then everyone can see the answer, or please contact us. We would be happy to help you with this new assignment. We don't have a actual example of this because this is the first time we're doing it in this format. Previously, it had been 2 separate assignments, and we did combine them to one assignment. So once again, if you have any questions, please let us know. We are always here to help you, and we do want you to ask for help and be successful.